Hey guys, so the Dokkan official Twitter account has released some information on who is coming the Dragon Ball Heroes collab this year on Dokkan for both JP and Global. They actually tweeted at the same time for the first time ever in the history of the game, so that's pretty cool. But what we're going to do is we're going to go through the characters that they announced here, and what I've done is I've pulled up the same exact cards from Heroes itself. So for instance, this is Super Saiyan God Trunks, here's his card, and I've also pulled up the details of what the card does in Heroes, because typically what they do is they try and, to the best of their ability, sort of match the abilities from what they do in Heroes to Dokkan. So we are going to sort of predict what type of characters these are going to be, in terms of if they're going to be support characters, defensive characters, whatever. So we'll start with Trunks himself. So this is Super Saiyan God Trunks Zeno. So it says, Trunks Zeno, who is awakened into Super Saiyan God in order to confront the Dark Empire, will appear in the Super Dragon Ball Heroes crossover summons. And then it says, collect awakening medals in the Dokkan event, and Dokkan awaken him into a UR. So that is probably going to be basically this year's equivalent of Super Saiyan 4 Vegito. Because you guys remember last year, he was available in the crossover summon, but he did get his own Dokkan event. So I imagine this is going to be basically the Super Saiyan 4 Vegito slot that we had last year. But because it says he will appear in a Super Dragon Ball Heroes crossover summon and not a Dokkan festival, I imagine he's not going to be a Dokkan Fest exclusive, because obviously people were speculating for a long time that potentially we could be getting a Dokkan Fest exclusive Heroes character this year, but it looks like, just due to the wording here, I don't expect him to be an actual Dokkan Fest exclusive, but he'll probably get his own Dokkan event, just exactly like the Super Saiyan 4 Vegito last year did. So here's Trunks. Let's go take a look at his card. I mean, it's pretty much one for one with this, right? So he released in Universe Mission 11 as the secret rare, so that's probably like 2 years ago or so, maybe a little bit less than that. But basically what we're looking at is this is basically the passive of the unit, what the unit's doing. Some of these it's not going to really translate that well, just because it's not like, sometimes like when you want to, I guess, convert a passive from Heroes to Dokkan, obviously the mechanics are completely different, so it's not going to always work the same. But what this guy's doing in his passive is, depending on the amount of attackers that you have during the prep phase for this round only, you will not be able to lose energy, and you will gain energy +1, and it's only available once only. So I mean, this one actually, like, I have no idea what that would convert to, but maybe he's going to give the whole rotation key or something. I imagine basically this guy was going to do something similar to Super Saiyan 4 Vegito, because if you guys remember what Super Saiyan 4 Vegito did last year, basically what he did was he supported the crossover category and the Giant 8 power category, but then he also had like decent offensive abilities where he also had a counter, so he did a little bit of everything. I think what they'll do with this Trunks is they'll probably make him a well-rounded unit where he's able to support a little bit. Maybe he makes your units like not able to be debuffed or something like that. I don't know. But that's pretty much what we see from Trunks here. It's a little bit difficult to really convert that passive specifically to Dokkan terms. Next we have the Dark King Mechikabura, Power of Time Unleashed. Rejuvenated by the Dark Dragon Balls, the Dark Empire's army leader will appear in the Super Dragon Ball Heroes crossover summon as Dark King Mechikabura, Power of Time Unleashed. Collect awakening medals in the special event, and Dokkan awaken him into a UR. So I think the special event that they're referring to, I think, is just the same one as last year, because they mentioned there was going to be new stages added to that to form up a new free-to-play character. So this is basically like the villain of the Holy Universe mission side of things before they get into the Hearts saga. He's basically the Dark Empire leader, basically. But I'm honestly not that big of a follower of the story, but I know this is like the main sort of villain of that entire arc. But this is his... oops, that's the wrong one. You find it. This one, right here. Let me move this over here. So this is Mechikabura. This is the same art, right? It's one for one again, pretty much. Funny thing about this is this guy's card that they're taking the art from is actually just a promotional card, so it's like really not that anything crazy here. But what he is doing from his passive is right here, is when the enemy team is 5 or more, and when there are 5 or more enemies, and then there's 3. When there's 3 or less enemy attackers. Wait, hold on. Yeah, when there's 3 or less enemy attackers during the prep phase, he's able to seal the super attacks of all enemies. So I mean, that could be interesting. Maybe it's something like where, like, the first appearance of this character on rotation or something, he seals a super attack of all enemies. That would actually be insane for Super Battle Road, right? Yeah, it's basically, it's kind of like the SR Jacko and the SR Chaozu, where the first time they're on the rotation, they just like stun the entire enemy field. What if this guy did a similar thing, but instead of stunning the entire enemy field, he sealed them all? That would be really powerful. Like, he just straight up, whenever you have, like, I mean, maybe you'll be limited to a certain amount of enemies, because this one limits, you know, there has to be 5 enemies on the enemy team, but then there has to be 3 or less as an attacker on the enemy team. So I'm thinking maybe if there's like 3 or more enemies, then he seals all of them or something like that. I don't know. Seems interesting. Some type of ability like that. I'm not sure, but I mean, it would make him viable forever, pretty much in events like Super Battle Road. So that would be kind of cool. All right, next we have Panzeno, who they showed off during the live stream, so we already knew that she was coming. But yeah, Panzeno, a member of the Time Patrol that confronts the Dark Empire, will appear in the Super Dragon Ball Heroes crossover summon, and it looks like you'll be able to Dokkan Awaken her into a UR as well through the Dokkan event. Okay, so it looks like she'll be probably getting Fierce Battle, whereas Michikawa is probably going to be getting Shattering the Limit, and obviously Trunks will be getting Fierce Battle. All right, so taking a look at Panzeno here, I believe she's over here. No, here. Yeah, I mean, her art is a little different. They decided to make her smiling in the card art here for Dokkan, but obviously this is the same card, right? It's the same pose and everything like that. She, I believe, what was she, an SR? Yeah, she's actually an R, so she's only a 2-star, okay, in Big Bang Mission 7. So honestly, she might be the most recent card out of any of these, but that's interesting. So she actually comes with an ultimate unit effect, which is this, and she has a normal passive, obviously. So I'm not really sure how they would translate an ultimate unit effect to Dokkan. Basically what that means is you have to have both this Trunks and the Supreme Kai of Time on your team in order to activate this effect. So she requires 2 specific other cards on your team to get this extra bonus ability. And what this bonus ability does is it allows her to reduce the amount of enemy hero energy by 2, which is basically Ki, like the equivalent of Ki in Dokkan. Like it allows you to super attack. So not really sure what that would mean. Maybe it just means you seal the enemies or something like that. And I guess they could sort of translate that to being like an active skill as long as you have like certain types of other members on the team. I don't know if they would limit it to certain characters, but maybe as long as you have like other, I don't know, crossover or Dragon Ball Heroes or Time Traveler characters on your team, you can activate an active skill that like seals the enemy rotation or something like that for once only. But the actual passive ability is down here. So this one is when you're attacking and you win with a perfect charge impact, which is basically like the little bar that goes back and forth. If you get a perfect of that, you deal an extra 3,000 damage to the enemy. I do not really know what that would really translate to. Maybe it could be something where it's like, because basically getting a perfect charge impact means like you timed the thing perfectly correct to get it to be fully maxed. It's basically like if you played Legends, it's basically what a clash is. Like you do a strike clash with somebody, it's the little bar that goes back and forth, and you have to time it when it maxes itself out. You have to click the button when it's to the max. Basically getting a perfect one of that means you, like, it's fully filled up. So it's a little bit obviously way more common in Heroes than it is in Legends, because it's like almost impossible to do that fully perfectly in Legends. But the only thing I can really think of how they would do this is maybe like if you get a certain amount of key spheres, like sort of like how the AGL Pycon's passive works, where it's like as long as you collect 3 or more key spheres, you get like an extra boost or something like that. That's what comes to mind when I look at this, but I'm not really 100% sure how that would work. So that's Panzeno. What else we got here? All right, so next we have the Supreme Kai of Time Brainwashed. So the Supreme Kai of Time Brainwashed, who is brainwashed by the rejuvenated Dark King Michikabu's dark powers, will appear in the Super Dragon Ball Heroes crossover summon. She will also appear as an enemy in a newly added stage of a special event. So it sounds like she does not awaken, just based off of the fact that they didn't put that here, and they did for the other units on here. So I'm assuming she doesn't awaken yet. But this card should be this one? Yeah, this one right here. Okay, so the interesting thing to note about this card is that there's different forms of this Supreme Kai of Time. So this is obviously her. It doesn't, like, for some reason the site doesn't have the form, because the forms are in the back of the card. So if we look at this, this is this word for brainwashed. But there's also this, which is basically her, I guess it's, what is it, like the Power of Time Unleashed form, but she's still brainwashed. And what's interesting is they actually call this form Brainwashed Berserk. So what I imagine what will happen is when we get the Dokkan Awakening of this Supreme Kai of Time, she'll probably Dokkan Awaken into this form. So what I recommend you guys do is, if for some reason you guys end up pulling more than 5 copies of the Supreme Kai of Time, would probably hold on to them, because for all we know, she could Dokkan Awaken into this other form, so that you could actually use the pre-Dokkan Awakened and post-Dokkan Awakened versions of this card. So this is the form we're getting. This is what I imagine she'll Dokkan Awaken into at some point. But this is just the brainwashed version of the Supreme Kai of Time. So in terms of what she actually does here, so this is her ability down here. This is also a promo card, so she's not really anything too crazy. But it looks like she is a purely support type unit, because she has to be in the support area for this effect to activate. And then it says, for this round only, your team gets a bonus of battle power equal to the amount of enemy attackers times 1000. So what that says to me, I mean, this could be something like an STR Bojack effect, where you get a higher potency of support depending on how many enemies there are. That sounds plausible for a unit like this, and for just what this card is doing, right? But I imagine they'll probably add other stuff to her unit as well, right? I mean, Supreme Kai of Time, you think stunning, you think sealing, you think just utility. She's definitely not going to be an attacker. There's no way they make her an attacker, I don't think. I think one of the ways that they could really increase the longevity of these heroes characters is by making them support oriented or utility oriented, right? Maybe she's going to be a double orb changer or something. Like we've only really gotten one of those ever, right? The Weirdest card. Maybe she's like the second double orb changer ever. Maybe she's a rainbow orb changer and a support unit, and she seals. Maybe Panzeno is going to be a super mega healer, because I think the first ever Panzeno UR card actually was a healing card. She's able to provide like massive amounts of healing to your team. This guy, I mean, we mentioned like the whole sealing utility he could potentially bring. Like he seals the whole rotation guarantee the first time he appears, which would be really ridiculous utility. And then Trunks, again, I think just because he's like the main, he looks like he'll be the main unit of this batch, he'll probably end up doing like a lot. Like he'll probably end up supporting a little bit. He'll probably end up doing good damage a little bit. He'll probably have decent utility. His links will be pretty good, considering he's pretty much a Saiyan and a God, Realm of Gods character. Also, in addition to this, we also have 2 other characters. So this is like the only translation I really don't like of the batch here. They called her Robelu. Just call her Robel. Like, why do you need a U on there? An L and a U at the end sounds weird to me. Demigra's Secretary Robelu will appear in the Super Dragon Ball Heroes crossover summon. I'm not going to call her Robel. I'm just going to call her Robel, because that's what I've called her for 3 years at this point. Robel and Demigra will temporarily support the Time Patrol members to confront Michikabara. Yeah, so basically they teamed up with these characters, right? But this character, let me just tell you, this card in Heroes was one of the most broken cards for a very long time in the actual Dragon Ball Heroes card game. Like, she came out, nobody really cared about her, knew who she was, just because like she's like an original character. I mean, it's kind of like a random character, right? She's a secretary to Demigra. But her card ended up being ridiculously powerful. She came out UM3, so yeah, this was, I don't know if it was 3 years ago, maybe it was like 2.5, but she, she's pretty old at this point. She has a pretty ridiculous ability, both in her actual passive, but also in her lock-on ability. Her lock-on ability was ridiculous. So basically what the lock-on ability is this is her card action ability. Basically every single usable card has a card action ability. And what this one did is you chose an enemy to reduce their defense to 0. Or I guess in this game it's their guard. They reduces their guard to 0. And she also lowered the damage reduction of the enemy by 50% if the enemy that she locked onto had a power that was higher than hers. So she basically made the enemy take like 500 million times more damage with her lock-on ability, and then her actual passive was during the prep phase, your team gained additional power based on how many enemy attackers there are times 2,000. So if there's 3 enemy attackers, you're getting an extra 6,000 power for your entire enemy team, and that's not limited to once only. It's every turn. And then in addition to that, if you happen to have Demigod on your team as well, the effect of that went up. So again, this is a card that I don't know how they're going to handle this in Dokkan, because they definitely can't make her as broken as they did in Heroes, otherwise she'd break the game. But basically, I mean, if they want to figure out a way to combine like the actual lock-on card action ability with the passive down here, maybe it would be something like, I mean, because defense doesn't really matter in Dokkan, right? When you compare it to Heroes, it's like the entire like lowering defense and like lowering damage reduction is like ridiculously powerful in Heroes. It's like one of the more powerful abilities in the game, honestly. But in Dokkan, it's like it doesn't really matter. I'm thinking like, what if they gave her an active skill or something where she? Well, I don't know if they would give her an active skill. Because she's not even awakened, right? This is just going to be an SSR. They don't mention anything about her awakening, so I don't know if they would give her an active skill. But we'll see. We'll see what they end up doing. Something to do with. It's actually, this ability sounds very similar to what we just looked at with this character, right? Depending on how many enemies there are, you're going to gain support for your team. But it's just like, her ability is like literally 1 million times better than this one. So we'll see how they handle that. But she will definitely be a support character that has some kind of utility with, you know, hopefully being able to like single out an enemy that you want to just destroy. Maybe something like, I don't know, something like Pycon's active skill, where like you can just like make them not attack for a turn or something, but it would be baked into her passive somehow instead of being an active skill. And then finally we have the Demon Goddess Poutine. Poutine, who has obtained the power of a demon god from Michikabuto, will appear as Demon Goddess Poutine. So she's actually a free-to-play character. Recruit her from a newly added stage of a special event, and Dokkan awaken her into a UR. Yeah, so from V-Jump, we know that she'll be obtainable via the existing special event that we had last year. You're just going to add a new stage to that event. So this is her card. That's obviously the exact same as this one. I forgot to show I mean, I did show this, but this is also the same as the Robel art that we're getting in Dokkan. And then she is an SR, so she is a 3-star character from UM9. I didn't actually look at her. She also has an ultimate unit effect here, but we don't have these characters in the game, so I don't think they're gonna they're gonna implement this. So her actual ability is here. It says during the power level phase, she buffs the power of any ally that has 100 power or less by 10,000. So that's, again, I don't really know how they would translate that to Dokkan, but it sounds to me like if there's a member of your team that's like debuffed, she'll just massively buff them. So maybe, I mean, the way that they could translate, I don't know how often you would see this activate, but what I imagine this would be is they'd probably just give her like some baseline buff, like, you know, 120% attack and defense. I mean, keep in mind she's also free to play, so she's not going to be anything too insane. But like 120% attack and defense, and then maybe she gives like, I don't know, 10% or 20% attack and defense. Maybe let's just say 20% attack and defense to the crossover category, right? Just as a general support. And then if there's an ally who has their attack or defense lowered, that ally will get like 50% attack and defense for the turn or something. That's a way they could really replicate this, because this is, honestly, this is becoming more and more common in Heroes, where you have an ally that's been like debuffed to hell, and then you have these specific cards that come out and just like mega buff that unit. So that's sort of a way that they could mirror this effect in Dokkan, but that's pretty much all we're getting here. That's all they showed off. Plus, obviously, we already knew that we're getting the Extreme Z Awakenings for all these characters, so this is a 7-character EZA. In terms of who I'm most excited about, this is probably gonna be a little bit unexpected, but I think this Boo, the Bobbity Absorb Boo, I think he'll be ridiculous with an EZA. This Toa also has the ability to be ridiculous, but just specifically because we've needed a new Majin Power character for a long time, and it feels like we never get like Majin Power characters. So this guy should make a big difference. Trunks, I mean, if they make his guard guaranteed, like, he'll be much better. This Gohan already he hits pretty hard already, so he'll be good. Gotenks will be good. I'm not really sure Pikkon and Janemba. You know, what's funny about these 3 characters is that they're all so old that they're going to have to basically completely rework how they do this. So, I don't know. We'll see. But the fact that they're showing these characters off now in sort of like this preview leads me to believe they'll probably reveal their kits either tonight at like the normal time or tomorrow. So if they do that, I'll keep you guys updated. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down below what you guys think, and I will see you all in the next one.